And that is why the pledge is legally enforceable. And that is why the pledge is not legally enforceable. Welcome back to the channel and thank you for watching. Many people have asked whether or not this pledge made by Amber Heard to ACLU is legally enforceable. So in this video I'm going to go through the idea of making a pledge, a promise, a commitment, not to mention the fact that Amber didn't sign the document in the first place, and this is one of those things we're going to be talking about. Because we all know if something isn't written down, it didn't happen, right? Wrong. So just what is the position when someone makes a promise, doesn't sign the document? Do they need to sign the document? Is a contract enforceable if it's in writing or not in writing? What if the terms are unfair? What if the terms are unclear? And what does a contract have to do with making a pledge or a promise in the first place? Well, let's take, for example, this document that was produced on behalf of Amber Heard for this pledge to ACLU, which she didn't sign and yet set out what her pledge and commitment was. Can she be legally required to fulfill this promise, this pledge, as she so famously put it? Well, the short answer is probably not, but as usual, the longer answer is a little bit more complicated. You see, ultimately what we're talking about here as a pledge and a promise and a commitment is somebody doing something or giving something away for free. And now, generally speaking, this is not enforceable as a matter of law because it doesn't usually fulfill the minimum terms of a contract, which is an offer, acceptance, and consideration. The offer is simply what one party offers to another in exchange for a sum of money or for something else of some kind of value. Acceptance is where each party are accepting that they are entering into a legal relations and there is proof that they have the intent to enter legal relations with each other. This, by the way, as a side note, doesn't have to be in writing. It can be verbally agreed. It can be agreed by a matter of conduct. It can arise out of a matter of dealing and some assumptions on behalf of the parties, if it can be shown that parties have reasonably agreed to what's happening and the exchange of consideration. That's the third thing. The third thing is consideration, and this is where this might get a little bit tricky. Because in this case, consideration will be the key factor to determine whether or not this is a contract of any sort and whether or not it is an enforceable contract. Because if there's no consideration, there is no contract. If there's no contract, it's not enforceable. If it's simply a promise to pay and to contribute money, but there's no consideration and there's no contract, i.e., let's say Amber doesn't get anything out of this arrangement, then it's not going to meet the minimum terms of a contract and it's not likely to be enforceable. However, what exactly is it that Amber was supposed to be getting in return for donating this money? Well, if we take a look at the ACLU website again, because this is where it might get a little bit more complicated. When we look at their website from 2016, there was a blog post which was titled "Actress Amber Heard Donates Millions to Support the ACLU." Now, one might argue that this is significant goodwill in her favor and may well have given her and may well amount to some kind of consideration on her part, i.e. if it can be shown that she's benefited from some consideration, and if this was part of the deal in the first place, that she'll get lots of publicity from the ACLU for promising to donate this money, that might well amount to consideration when trying to determine whether or not there is a contract. However, before we get too excited, the courts are not quick to enforce pledges as contracts. There needs to be some kind of definitive consideration there in exchange for whatever is being pledged. This is different, of course, from the alternative legal concept of pledge, which I've referred to in previous videos, which was where you pledge an asset in exchange for some kind of credit, but there's no suggestion that there's anything like that going on here. This was just a promise to pay money in support of ACLU, and in turn they have publicized that fact on their website in terms of blogs. Although it is seemingly rather strange that it is still reported that ACLU has credited Amber Heard with donating $1.3 million, although most of it appears to have come from Elon Musk and $100,000 from Johnny Depp. But either way, when considering whether or not a pledge could be legally enforced, my view ultimately is that it will not be able to be legally enforced because it's doubtful that there will be significant or sufficient consideration to warrant the minimum terms of a contract. But nonetheless, I thought that might be something interesting to do a short video on because some people have asked that in the comments. So please do remember to like this video and subscribe, and as always, thank you for watching.